Alrighty, so I'm just going to make a new composition here. We don't have to be big. I'll just make it 1280 by 720, 10 seconds, 30 frames per second. Okay, so here is a really simple composition, just 10 seconds long. When you're working with text in After Effects, the text workspace is really nice. So you can go over here to workspaces and change it from standard to text. And it's just going to give you all of your text, character, and paragraph attributes over here. And then it gives you effects and presets, which you use some with text animation, but we won't even talk about it today. But it just kind of puts that in a little corner. Mostly your space is dedicated to your actual text tools here. So just like Photoshop or Illustrator or whatever, you get the text tool, you click to drop in your text, and you type, wow, this is... because this is really cool. There you go. So here's our text. Obviously, you know, we talked about keyframe animation in After Effects, and you could just keyframe the position or something and, you know, fly that on or off, or you could fade it in or out. But you know what? That's boring. So we're going to go a step above boring today. At least that's the hope. And mostly I'm just going to show you how to make it less boring. And once you know how these tools kind of roughly work, it's really nice. So it's good stuff. So working with text animation, you basically can take this whole transform menu here that comes with the layer and just hide it, because we're not going to use that at all. Everything we're going to do is in this text menu here. We're not going to worry about source text or path options or more options for right now. There's stuff here that you can do, but it's beyond the basics, and you can get most of the stuff that I'd say 90% of the stuff that you would ever want to do with text, you can do outside of those here, just with the normal stuff. So the place that we want to look actually is this Animate button over here. And when you click on that, it will give you this menu of things that you can animate. All right, so anchor point, position, you know. I'm going to start just with position. It's a good place to start. And it works this way. Each text animator that you insert will come with a range selector, which is basically After Effects' way of saying what character in your type do you want to edit. So you can either animate from the start to the finish, so that would be left to right, or you can, and that's by just changing your percentage on your start, or you can animate from the finish to the start, which is right to left, by changing the end. Okay, you can do both, but I really don't recommend it. They end up just mixing each other up. So all you're going to do is set 2 keyframes to start animating. So let's say over the first 2 seconds, I want this from, we'll just start left to right to animate in. So I'm going to click the little stopwatch for the start here, and then I'm going to drag down to, we'll go to 2.5 seconds here. Go down to 2.5 seconds, and then I'm going to change my start up to 100%. Okay. Now, if you watch here, keep an eye on the little I-beam that goes in the text. As I drag this back, oh, that's really, really hard to read. Let's see if I can get it at least a little bit visible on screen. Okay, there you go. You see the little red I-beam? As I drag my timeline, it's moving through there. Now, I haven't set up anything to actually animate yet, so we won't see anything happen, but you do see that that's moving through character by character. Okay. So I'm going to leave it right there in the middle. And since I made this position was what I chose here at first. When I chose add, I just chose position. Or excuse me, when I chose animate, I just chose position. See, I've got position here. And this is different from the position down in the transform menu. So again, we're leaving transform all folded up. It's not in our way. We're not worrying about it. We're just going to worry about position here. So we have position X, which is left to right, and position Y, which is up and down. So let's make the text come from up here first. So as I drag this number, you'll see that the text is moving, and we're on the animation for that S right now. So you see it's in progress. Everything after the S is going to go to essentially its initial point. So if I drag that until it's off screen like that, the text is now going to come from off screen and fall onto the screen. Okay? Pretty simple. You can just hit play and you can watch it play back. And for right now, I'm just going to grab my down here on the right hand side of the timeline. I'm just going to grab my work area and drag it down so that I don't have to watch the entire thing to make it loop. So that way, I just get the first 2.5 seconds or so, and it will loop. So that way, I can check out and see how that's working. You go, okay, you know, the idea is cool. It's a little fast, I think. So I'm going to pull my timeline out to, let's go to 4 seconds here. And to make this take more time, all I got to do is grab this keyframe, the second keyframe, and drag it down to about 4 seconds. And now when I play this back, it's going to take 4 seconds instead of 2.5 seconds. So obviously, things are going to move a little bit more slowly. There you go. Let it go at real time. Okay, so that's cool. But a lot of times you're going to want more to happen than just text falling onto the screen. I mean, that can get a little bit boring. Granted, it's better than just having the entire block of text fall onto screen or doing like a linear wipe across it. But, so let's look then at what else we can do. To add extra effects to what's going on with the text, you don't have to make any new animation. You don't even have to make any new keyframes. If I still wanted to obey this kind of letter at a time, left to right, which I do in this case, all I have to do is, you can see once I've got my animator in here, I've got an add button. And this is where you can add extra elements. So let's choose add, and then property, let's go to rotation. And I'm actually going to do one other thing here because I have rotation just around the central pivot. That's all I've got right now because it's two-dimensional. But if I go up here to add in property and turn on enable per character 3D, you can see now I get rotation X, Y, and Z, which is way cooler. So now I can make my my stuff rotate around, say, the Y. And now you can see where you look is the A here. So let's kind of zoom in on this. So watch the A here as I do this. You see it's rotating, but around the Y axis. So let's say I want these to make kind of one full loop here. Actually, let's do it this way. Instead of dragging up to 360 degrees, I'll just, you have, it says 0x, so this is the number of, here, let's zoom in so you can actually see what I'm looking at. You have 0x, so this is the number of actual full revolutions, and then the next one is the number of degrees. I just want this to make one loop. Well, that's 4, 3, 2, there you go, 1. So I just want it, it's going to rotate once around as it falls. So let's kind of zoom this out here. And now let's watch the letters as they come down. You can see they're kind of spinning. That's probably a little bit too much. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this down. Let's just do 180 degrees then. So they'll make kind of a rotation or a half a rotation as they fall. So let's try that. That's a little bit better. And here I'm going to do this. I'm going to try something else then. I'm going to set this rotation back down to 0. And let's do our, let's see, should be X rotation. Yeah, there we go. Let's do X rotation here. Again, maybe 180 degrees. X rotation is the rotation around the left to right facing axis. So they'll look like they're kind of doing a little roll on. Yeah, there we go. That's a little bit better. Yeah, I think I like that a little bit better. And we'll let it get through, and that way it will play back at real time. And if you see this whole text area, this kind of can get annoying at times. So if you just click off of it, it will get rid of the boxes and everything, and then you can watch it actually just animate on without the guides getting in the way. Now, before we go any further, I think a big problem here is that it reads like it's moving really fast, so it looks a little jumpy. So I'm going to turn on motion blur here. And I know I mentioned this last time we talked about After Effects, but motion blur has to be turned on for the entire composition, and then it has to be enabled on each layer to actually get it to work here. So up here in the top of the timeline, you have this button here with the little blurred ball. That enables motion blur for the entire composition, and then this enables it for the individual layer. So usually you set up the layers that you want to have it, and then this is how you toggle it on and off. so that if you don't want to have to watch it right now, if you don't have to wait for it, you can just click it off. But we'll click it on there. And now you can see that the individual letters are blurring as they come on, so that looks a lot better before we keep going. I like that. That's better. And here, let's go then another step here. So like I said, you can add as many attributes as you want here. So let's add property. Let's add scale onto here. And again, let's get to where we have one letter kind of in transition. There we go. And let's set my scale up to something kind of really big. Let's go to like 400% or something. This is actually causing a little problem because now I can see the text before it falls onto screen, but that's okay. We'll fix that here in a second too. So now when we play back, it's like it's coming from farther away and it's falling back towards the screen. Okay, and now just because this gets pretty procedural, I won't really walk through it. We'll just do it. Let's add then opacity. So let's make them so that they fade in. So I'm going to set my initial opacity to 0. And again, this all goes with the same text animator. So now they're falling in from far away, coming in closer, something like that. And I think the whole thing's reading a little small here. So I can still at any point here, just for visibility's sake, I'm going to scrub down to the end here. I can still take this text and edit it, so let's go and make my point size bigger, and let's center it back up in the screen. That's a little bit better. So now let's play that back. And I think that reads way better as bigger text. So you see it's fading in, it's flipping over, it's scaling down. Pretty cool. And just to do one more thing on here, let's go back and select my text here again. Oops, somehow I added an empty layer on. That was on accident. I'm going to add one more thing here. So again, I'll open up text and I'll go to add. And here in the bottom of the properties, you've got all sorts of things, even like tracking and fill and stroke color. You can animate all that stuff. At the very bottom here is blur. And this is just kind of a special blur just for the text animators. So I'm just going to take this blur. It's kind of a Gaussian blur. And let's see, I'm going to go up to maybe 30. And remember, this is where it's going to start. So it's going to start blurry. It's always going to end up wherever I wanted it to go. There we go. So now it's motion blur, but it's also kind of blurring and fading in. Okay, so here, let's go ahead, let's get rid of that. Let's make it big so we can see it, and let's get a preview. So let it go all the way through. It's not going to be at real time the first time, but as this little green bar fills up along the timeline, that's going to fill up. And there you go. So now you can see it. So that's looking definitely more interesting than just fading your type in, right? Oh, one other side note here. If you want to do things less orderly than this, which sometimes you will, sometimes you won't, there's one option down here under the animator and then under the range selector and then in advanced. I wouldn't worry about most of these because most of these aren't going to really affect much. You can play with them as you want, but the thing to look at under advanced here is the last thing, which is random order, and it's just a toggle off or on. If you turn it on, now the text, the individual letters are going to come on in random order, which is kind of nice sometimes, depending on what you're doing. It makes it, it's harder with longer phrases like this. I don't think it works quite as well, but for like single words and things like that, it works pretty well. There you go. You see that comes on in random order, and you can just toggle that on and off. I'm going to toggle it back off for now. Just that's just so you know it's there. It's under advanced in the text animator. So just to kind of finish this up here, I've got this that comes on, and you know what goes up or what comes on must go off, kind of thing. So we're going to take this text off now. Now I could, if I just want to use the exact same attributes and things, I could go down here a little further, and in this range selector, just set another keyframe on the start and on the finish, and then just let it go backwards the way it was. But instead of doing that, I'm actually going to make a second animator, and then that will let me take it off. First, I want it to take off from right to left, we'll just say, and I want it to do different things as it comes off. So to add another animator, again, I just go to Animate, and let's just do Position, and I'm going to turn on that okay, the per character 3D is already on, so that's good. So I'm going to take my position. This is X, Y, and Z. Z is coming towards us, so I just want this text to kind of fly towards us like this, and we'll also make it blur and fade out. So, but I don't want it to start here. I want it to end up here. So if I look at the range selector, I can start by having my keyframes. I put my first keyframe at 100% here, right? And then scrub down to where I want everything to go off the screen. So we'll say by 9:15 I want it to come off. And then I just go backwards. So I go 100% back down to 0. Okay, so now this is going to come towards the screen. Right? And actually this one I'm going to do in random order here. So I'm going to open up Advanced, go down and turn on random order, just to make it a little more interesting. And then I'm going to add two things to this. I'm going to make it blur and fade out, just so that it looks a little bit better. So I'm going to add property blur, and I'm going to turn up a nice healthy blur, not that much, maybe something like that. And then again, add property opacity, and I'll pull the opacity down to 0. So now the text is going to, in random order, just kind of fly off the screen back towards us. Okay, so let's deselect everything here, get that up to a nice full screen view, and we'll have a look at what the whole thing looks like. Wait for it to buffer, and then it'll play back at real time. And like I said, you can animate the color, you can animate adding stroke, you can animate the kerning, anything that you can do with text, you can animate here. So it looks like we don't have quite enough RAM to do this all in one shot. That's depressing. Or does it? Okay, no, it's got it. There you go. So there you go. A lot more interesting than just doing regular straight text. So even if you just need to add some titling onto something on a project that you're doing, anything that you're going to present that's like video or animation, you know you can do something interesting with text without having to spend a long time working on it or sacrificing interest in just making it like fade on and off, which granted, sometimes fade on and off is effective. If you want to do a little bit more, there you go. And you can do pretty much anything you can think of. Just think of what properties you would want to animate. Position, scale, rotation, opacity, blur, color, stroke. If you want to put a stroke that appears as the text comes on, you can do that. Yeah, so it's all in there. Okay? Questions? Again, it's pretty straightforward. It's just learning how those range selectors and the animators set up. And once you have those down, you can really do anything that you want very, very quickly. So, cool. There we go.